Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Tiara Talks. I'm Beth Ruske,
I'm Peg Rowe.
and we're going to be talking today about curiosity uh, versus maybe
Yes, yes,
judgments. So,
yeah, yeah,
curiosity, judgments, they kind of go hand in hand.
yeah,
So, when we were talking about this, Peg, there was sparks that came in both of our eyes when the
yes,
idea popped. Um, and to me, when I think about cultivating curiosity, I immediately start to think like a 2-year-old or a 3-year
mhm,
old.
mhm.
How curious they are, and their favorite word in their vocabulary being why.
Why? Mhm.
Why? And to
Right.
the point where we get crazy. I know we're like, enough already, but we do know that parents and educators really do understand that that is an integral part of learning in
Yeah.
life, and we should be curious. I mean, we should cultivate that curiosity in our children,
Yes.
and ourselves. That's a belief that we have. So you said something pretty cool when we were starting to talk about this. You talked about this reminds you of fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. So tell me a
Right.
little bit more about that.
Yeah. So the fixed mindset and the growth mindset ideas came from Carol Dwork, and they've been around for a while. And so it's not a new idea, but it's a really good one to keep coming back to. And it is this idea that if you have a fixed mindset, then you have a belief that says we all are basically born with everything we need, all the information we need, our own way of getting things done. And there's really no way to learn and grow from that. And the growth mindset would have us say, no, there's infinite possibilities for learning, for being curious, for understanding. And because I know one thing today doesn't mean I can't know 10 things by tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so this idea of how do we switch that? And that the other thing that occurs for me sometimes is that the fixed mindset also can be limiting. So it also can align with a limited mindset.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. I'm co-facilitating in a program that Tiara is doing with another company, and it has a whole lot of technology that we have not been using when we facilitated virtual programs. I'm really actually looking forward to it because it's cool and it's going to be fun to see what are some other ways that we might even expand what we're doing. But my first reaction to having to learn like 2 or 3 different things going in was to have a slight amount of anxiety that said, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And what I had to remind myself was, I don't know how to do that yet.
Yes.
I know I have the capacity for learning. I'm not a technophobe. I will learn it, but I don't know how to do it yet. And it's understandable that not knowing how to do it yet has me feel a little anxious about, will I be able to, how is that going to go kind of
Yeah.
thing. But for me, that was that sort of fixed versus growth. I had to be really aware, like I just stuck myself in a fixed mindset of, I don't know how to do something
Yeah. That's outstanding. I love that insertion of those three little letters, yet.
yet.
I mean,
Yeah.
you could take any statement
Right.
and just add the yet,
Yeah.
and it really does transform the emotion of the entire statement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really do like that.
Yeah.
The other thing that, as I listen to your story, is that, and we teach this to all of our clients, and we try to practice it ourselves, is to hit that pause button.
Yes.
And that's what you just described. You did. You like caught yourself like, oh wait, hold on. And by hitting the pause button, just giving ourselves that moment to just
Yeah.
whoa, then we can get curious. Then we can choose curiosity. We can choose,
Mhm.
something, as opposed to being in that default mode, which
Yes.
feels like there's no choice of anything. It's like
Mhm.
stimulus, react, instead of an intentional response,
Yes.
which
I think
is
that's
really powerful.
so, so, so powerful. And, we would all own that every one of us has those moments where the pause button got tossed away and we're like full steam ahead before we can pause ourselves to actually stop the action and reconsider and get curious. So if that's just one of those things to remember, it's like, no, there's not perfection here. We're all trying to grow and continue to develop along the way. But hitting the pause button becomes a really important part of that process as well. Even when we're finding ourselves judging something else. I loved what you said was that sometimes judgment and comparison go together. So you want to say more about that?
Yeah, if you think about like when we're facing something, if it's new, a lot of times in order to make sense of it, what we do is we think about, well, where is this, what does this compare to? How have I experienced this before? And
Mhm.
we automatically go into a sometimes either a better than equation. Is it this or is it that? Is it better than this or worse than that? And our mind just automatically starts to compare to make sense of the experiences that we're
Yeah,
having. I don't think we can stop that. I'm not a neuroscientist, so I mean, I can't speak for sure, but I think the brain is wired to just be processing, processing, processing,
mhm,
and to make those comparisons because as human beings, that is actually how we learn and how we make sense of the world.
right.
So, but if that goes unchecked, and I think that's the thing we're talking about, is if it goes unchecked, then we have a very powerful brain and computer going in our brain that is kind of artificial intelligence. It's not being
Yes,
directed by us, by our soul, by our intentionality, by our heart. And that's where I think comparison left unchecked can actually hurt us. And that's where curiosity, wow, I love, like, I that's interesting.
yeah,
Where's that coming from?
right.
There's so many simple ways to
Yes,
take that moment of panic or concern and be like, huh,
yeah, yeah,
wow.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's what I think, really makes a big difference is recognizing we're in that comparison mode. Recognizing, as you said, not necessarily judgmental. We're all judgmental, but it's the judgments.
yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, and those judgments can take over and we give them more power than they really deserve. So if we can demystify the judgment and be willing to set it aside for a moment and get curious and really, wonder like, well, why is it that way? What's happening that's making that so? Then we give ourselves a lot of options on how to either solve a problem or consider a situation in ways that we hadn't before. We open the door for something new to kind of walk in.
Yeah, and that pause, it does not have to be a very long
Mhm.
moment. It can just be a second. It can be catch your breath. And I've seen you do this. Now I know your code, so I know when you're doing it. I've seen you in meetings where we've been in with clients where I'll see you just put your hand over your heart, and I
Yeah,
know you're just taking a breath, and that's your signal to pause.
right.
And
Yeah,
so there's so many different things we can do, and it doesn't have to be, wait a minute, people, let me get
right.
my breath here. Just
Yeah,
like do it your way, but insert the
right.
pause, insert an opportunity to be curious, insert choice,
Hmm.
and you're going to feel way more powerful.
Right. It's
Yeah.
really self-management. If you think about part of the emotional intelligence equation, there's self-awareness, which always then, not always, but can lead to self-management. So we have an awareness in the moment. Now, how do I manage myself in that situation? Am I going to just judge, close the door, and be done with it? Or am I going to get curious and see it from a different set of eyes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, lovely chatting about this. It's exciting. It's also it's inspiring, to just realize, this curiosity has some real merit. So
Yep, sure does.
thanks for joining us. Check us out again. Check us out on our YouTube channel. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram, and Tiara International.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you.